Production of Velvet Gentleman. Please take the time now to completely turn off all cell phones and unwrap any candy wrappers. Please note that Velvet Gentleman will be performed with one 15-minute intermission. We invite you to stay for a brief talkback following the performance. This production is supported in part by a grant from the Wisconsin Arts Board and the generous contributions from our patrons. Thank you for continuing to support year-round professional theater in Door County. Now, sit back, relax, and enjoy Velvet Gentleman.
Je suis venu au monde très jeune, dans un temps très vieux. I came into the world very young, in an age that was very old. In Honfleur, near the English Channel, on May 17th, 1866, which makes me a 50-year-old. As good a title as any. When I was young, I was told, wait till you're 50, you'll see. I am 50. I haven't seen a thing. I am French, of course. What makes you think a man of my age wouldn't be French? You surprise me. I had a quite unremarkable childhood with no features worth noting. So, I will not talk about it. Let's move on. I am sizzlingly keen at this point to give you my personal details. Those which I can speak about properly, of course. Hairs, gray. Eyebrows, dark chestnut brown, eyes gray, forehead frowning, nose long, mouth average, chin broad, face oval. I'm afraid I cannot show you my fingerprints. I don't have them on me, and these curious reproductions are not pretty to behold. Let's move on. After a fairly short adolescence, I became a more or less passable young man. It was at this point in my life that I began to think and write musically. What a terrible idea! A truly terrible idea. Indeed, I rapidly developed an unpleasant habit of originality. Very original, which was out of context, anti-French, against nature itself. Life, therefore, became so unbearable for me that I resolved to retire to my estate and spend my days in an ivory tower. Thusly, I acquired a taste for misanthropy. I cultivated hypochondria, I was the most melancholic human being. Very leaden. I was painful to behold. Even through a guaranteed gold pass name. And all of this was brought about by music. That art has done me more bad than good. It has ruined my relationship with many excellent, truly honorable, more than distinguished, respectable people. Let's move on. Personally, I am neither good nor bad. I oscillate, I could say. So I have never really done harm to anyone, nor good either. And yet I have many enemies. Faithful enemies, of course. Why? This is largely due to the fact that they do not know me, or know me only at second hand, by hearsay, in fact. Though I am by far their superior, my notorious modesty prevents me from saying so. Let's move on. More on that later. Before I compose a piece, I walk around it several times, accompanied by myself. The piano, like money, is only pleasant to those who have the touch. Rumor has it that a horse recently had its first communion in Vienna. This is the first occurrence of this sort of religious phenomenon in Europe. There are references to a jaguar in Australia which acts as a Protestant vicar and is said to be managing very well. It's true he doesn't have much to do. Many people will tell you that I am not a musician. They are correct. From the beginning of my career, I immediately classified myself as a phonometrographer. My work is pure phonometrics. If you look at my genuine flabby preludes for a dog, my reverie on a dish, my 3 elegant waltzes by a squeamish fop, you can see that musical ideas played no part in their creation. Scientific thought is predominant. Besides, I enjoy measuring a sound much more than hearing one. The first time I used a phonoscope, I examined a medium-sized B-flat. I can assure you I've never seen anything more revolting. It came out of a fat tenor, whom I also weighed. In the case of sonorous explosions, which are often so unpleasant, a piece of cotton placed in the ears softens them most conveniently. In any case, with a motodynamophone, a phonometrist of quite mediocre capabilities can take down more sounds than the most expert musician, given the same amount of time and effort. It is thanks to this that I have written so much. National Conservatory in Paris. A huge, very uncomfortable, rather ugly building. Sort of a penitentiary with no exterior charm. Or interior either. I was judged a quite insignificant pupil. My spirit was so gentle they could not understand it. Despite my extreme youth and my delicious agility, through their stupidity, they made me detest the coarse art which they taught. After 8 years, without having obtained a diploma from this institution, I found a means of escape by volunteering for service in the army. Not really finding the 33rd Infantry Regiment to my taste either, I found a means of escaping from it by staying outdoors one winter night without so much as a shirt on my back, thus contracting pneumonia and bringing about my immediate discharge. But the military had not been entirely useless. Through a fellow man-at-arms, I made the acquaintance of one Vital Auquet. By day, a Paris plumber, but who at night, under the name of Narcisse Le Beau, performed his own poems in Montmartre at the artistic and literary cabaret, the Chat Noir. I'd never been to this notorious den of poetry readings, recitals, bawdy songs, ballets, and shadow plays, but once inside, I fell under the spell of the freely flowing absinthe and mystical medieval decor. When my plumber poet friend introduced me to the proprietor, I wanted to appear as eccentric as everyone around me. So I told him I was a gymnopédiste. I had hoped to baffle him by employing this obscure word of ancient Greek origin. But without batting an eye, he looked at me and said, "That's a fine profession." Though I'm sure he had absolutely no idea what I was talking about. I barely knew myself. Well, having introduced myself as a gymnopédiste, I obviously had no alternative but to compose a gymnopédie or two, or three. I was inspired after reading Flaubert's novel, Salammbô, a blood-soaked tale of carnage and wanton lust. When I played my gymnopédies at the Chat Noir, I became known as Esoteric Satie, and the consensus was that they had been composed by a savage with good taste. suffered from a polyp in the nose, complicated by a liver disorder and rheumatic pains. On hearing your ogive, my condition showed a clear improvement. 4 or 5 applications of your Genopédies cured me completely. I hereby authorize you to make any use of this testimonial you wish. In the meantime, please accept my grateful thanks. An artist must regulate his life. Here is a precise timetable of my daily routine. I rise at 7:18 and am inspired from 10:23 to 11:47. I lunch at 12:11 and leave the table at 12:14. A healthy ride on horseback follows from 1:19 until 2:53 p.m. Another bout of inspiration from 3:12 to 4:07. Various activities, fencing, reflection, immobility, visits, contemplation, dexterity, swimming, etc. from 4:21 to 6:47. Dinner is served at 7:16 and is finished at 7:20 p.m. From 8:09 to 9:59, symphonic readings out loud. I retire regularly at 10:37. I wake up with a start at 3:19 a.m. once a week, on Tuesdays. My diet consists of food that is white: eggs, sugar, shredded bones, the fats of dead animals, salt, coconut, chicken cooked in white water, fruit mold, rice, turnips, noodles, cheese, cream cheese, cotton salad, and certain kinds of fish without the skin. I have a good appetite, but I never talk while eating for fear of strangling myself. I breathe carefully, a little at a time. I very rarely dance. When walking, I hold my ribs and look steadily behind me. My expression is very serious. If I laugh, it is never on purpose, and I always apologize very politely. I sleep very deeply, with only one eye closed. For sleeping purposes, I wear a white cap, white stockings, and a white nightshirt. Description automatique. Automatic descriptions. I wrote this set of 3 pieces on the occasion of my birthday. I request that they be listened to sip by sip, without rushing. It is quite obvious that the constricted, the insignificant, and the bloated will derive no pleasure from this work. They shall not be embellished with my friendship. It is an adornment which is not for them. Attention! I forbid anyone to declaim aloud the texts found in my musical score. Ignoring these instructions will bring my righteous indignation against the presumptuous culprit. No exception will be permitted. Please, read them. an orator, I cannot make a speech. I can't even chat informally. I will, however, permit myself to read you a letter that I have written for you. Before reading it to you, I will enlighten you on the subject of animals. I love animals, and they return my affection. In fact, the more I know about men, the more I admire dogs. Yes, I love animals. I like chickens, sheep, ducks, smoked salmon, beef, and turkey stuffed with chestnuts. Even without the chestnuts, I do love animals. Having thus spoken, I'll now take the liberty of reading the letter I've addressed to you. Mesdames, Mademoiselle, Monsieur, it has been said that the animal is our inferior brother, which means that man is the beast's superior brother. We are without any opinion of animals on the score. Painters and sculptors have often portrayed animals, yet we have no example whatsoever of painting or of sculpture made by an animal. Their taste does not lead them toward these two arts. Architecture and music, however, have attracted them. The rabbit constructs tunnels, the bird builds a nest, both marvels of art and industry. I could continue to cite similar examples indefinitely, but I won't. Let's move on to music. We cannot doubt that animals like and practice music. One needs simply hear them cackle, meow, bray, whistle, croak, bleat, bellow, cluck, coo, howl, roar, whinny, purr, twitter, yelp, in order to have an idea of their sonorous art. The repertory and its usage is transmitted from parent to offspring. Already gifted, the pupil soon equals the master. The physical aspect of certain types indicates a particular aptitude. In birds, the beak brings them close to the clarionet and the flageolet. And in contrast, other animals have a general conformation that forbids their ever dreaming of an operatic or artistic career. Fish, for example. Forget it. But most animals are quite capable of exercising an art for which nature has prepared them with such care. That is why the musicians of the human species have a right to interest themselves in the efforts of their dear brothers of the animal kingdom. That is all I had to say to you. I wish to thank you for your kind attention. I do so with pleasure. Your devoted servant, Eric Satie. feeling for harmony means to have a feeling for tone. Serious examination of a melody is always an excellent harmonic exercise. A melody does not have its own harmony any more than a countryside has its own color. The harmonic setting of a melody is infinite because a melody is expression within the expression. The melody is the idea, the contour, as much as it is the form and the subject matter of a work. Harmony is a form of lighting, setting the object off, reflecting it. Hair is no longer a danger. Hair is a parasite which lives on the head and takes the form of very long, thin worms. This parasite is surprisingly voracious and is one of the causes of baldness. By continual suction, it absorbs the capillary juices lying below the cranial skin, thus denuding irrevocably said skin and bringing about its own death. Before long, man becomes bald and is rid of a bothersome, repulsive visitor. With no risk of the condition ever returning, he is completely cured. On the 14th of the month of January, in the year of grace 1893, which was a Saturday, I began my love affair with Suzanne Valadon. Suzanne started her remarkable career as a circus acrobat. She later became an artist model and eventually a painter herself. I called her Biki, my little Biki. Although heretofore I'd always considered love to be a rather comical nervous disorder, I found it impossible to stop thinking about her whole being. her exquisite eyes, her gentle hands, her little child's feet. I even wrote her a love song. Bonjour, Vicky. Bonjour. Like that song, our affair was brief. But our passion was torrid, tempestuous, and tumultuous. I once became so stimulated, so agitated, that I actually threw her out of a second-story window. But she, having previously been a trapeze artist, bounced right back. On Monday, January 16th, my little Vicky, my friend Suzanne Valadon, came to my apartment for the first time in her life. And on Saturday, June 17th, for the last, I never saw her again. To my dear brother, Conrad Satie, I have just broken with Suzanne. I shall have great difficulty in regaining possession of myself, loving this little person as I have. She was able to take all of me. Now there is nothing but an icy loneliness that fills the head with emptiness and the heart with sadness. Time will do what at this moment I cannot do. Your devoted brother, Eric Satie. J'ai compris ta détresse, cher amoureux, c'est d'été à mes voeux, seras-tu ma maîtresse, loin de nous la sagesse, plus de tristesse. Et j'aspire à l'instant brasier où nous serons heureux. Je te veux, je n'ai pas de regrets, et je n'ai qu'une envie près de toi, là tout près, vivre toute ma vie, que mon corps soit le tien. Et ta lèvre la mienne, que ton cœur soit le mien, et que toute ma chair soit tienne. J'ai compris ta détresse, cher amoureux, c'est d'été à mes voeux. Seras-tu ma maîtresse, loin de nous la sagesse, plus de tristesse, mais j'aspire à l'instant brésilien où nous serons heureux. Je te veux. j'aspire à l'instant brésilien où nous serrons heureux. Je te veux, oui, je vois dans tes yeux la divine promesse que ton cœur amoureux vient chercher ma caresse, enlacée pour toujours, brûlant des mêmes flammes dans un rêve d'amour. Nous échangerons deux âmes. J'ai compris par tes traits, j'ai amoureux, c'est d'été à mes feux. C'est parti ma maîtresse, loin de nous la sagesse, plus de tristesse. Mais j'aspire à l'instant brésilien où nous serons heureux. Je te veux. The following work is utterly incomprehensible, even to me. Its singular profundity continually astonishes me. I wrote it in spite of myself, at the urging of destiny. Was I perhaps trying to create humor? That would not surprise me and would be rather my style. All the same, I shall have no sympathy for those who make light of it. They have been warned. Embryon desséché. Desiccated embryo. Desiccated embryo of the holothurian. Ignorant people call it the sea cucumber. The holothurian ordinarily climbs on stones or blocks of rock. Like the cat, this sea animal purrs. And, what's more, he spins a dripping thread of silk. Light seems to bother him. I once observed a holothurian in the Bay of Saint-Malo. of the Genty-Waksberg. Crustaceans with fixed eyes. That is to say, stalkless, immobile eyes. Very sad by nature. These crustacea live withdrawn from the world, in holes drilled through cliffs. Desiccated embryo of the podophthalma. Crustaceans with eyes on movable stalks. They are skillful, tireless hunters. They are found in every sea. The meat of the podophthalma is a tasty dish. Mademoiselle, Monsieur. Last year, I had the honor of giving here a talk on music and animals. Today, I am going to talk about child musicians. I continue to have a soft spot for animals. Lobster, for instance. But it gives me a stomachache. Unfortunately for it. Otherwise, I would eat it more often. As far as children are concerned, how does one become a musician? Quite simple. One finds a teacher. A music teacher, if possible. Next, one must buy a metronome. One that is not too ripe, nice and plump. One that works properly. There are metronomes that work out of time, like Mad Men. There are even ones that do not work at all. They are not good metronomes. Do not take revenge upon your instruments. Instruments are often subjected to pretty rough treatment. They get beaten. I have known children who took pleasure in treading on the feet of their pianos. Others who do not put their violin back in its box. Some of them put snuff in their trombone, which is very unpleasant for the trombone. Practice must be done in the morning, after breakfast. You must be very clean, have blown your nose. Do not start work with jammy fingers. And you must not break off every 5 minutes to go and fetch sweets. Nougat, barley sugar, biscuits, chocolate, and other things like that. The times and the days for the lessons are fixed with the agreement of the pupil and the teacher. It would be rather inconvenient if the pupil had his lesson at one time and on one day, while the teacher gave his at a different time and day. The pupil and the teacher came into the world to meet each other, at least from time to time. Otherwise, where would we be? Yes, where would we be? I will tell you. We would be going nowhere. I have to bring this talk to an end. Time is getting on. I'm going to have my tea. Then I shall go for a walk to work up an appetite. Be good, children. Thank you for listening. Of preparing children for the sound patterns of modern music. It has won me congratulations from the Shah of Persia and the King of Yvetot. It is entitled Recommandation Maternelle, Motherly Advice. family of cephalophones have a range of 36 octaves and are totally unplayable. An amateur in Budapest attempted in 1875 to use the cephalophone in C. Following the execution of a trill, the instrument burst, snapped his spine, and completely scalped him. Since then, no one has dared to employ the powerful resources of the cephalophone, and by governmental decree, cephalophone instruction in schools has been banned. I was 3 times a candidate to be a member of that delicate gathering known as the Académie des Beaux-Arts at the Institut de France. 3 times others were chosen over me for no good reason, and this caused me much pain. Though I could be mistaken, I had the impression that the precious members of the Académie were treating me with a degree of pig-headedness and stubbornness that bordered on calculated obstinacy. And this caused me much pain. At the time of Mr. Paladil's election, my friends told me, "Let it pass. Later, he will vote for you. His voice will carry great weight." I received neither his vote, nor his voice, nor his weight. And this caused me much pain. At the time of Mr. Dubois' election, my friends told me, "Let it pass. Later, there will be 2 of them to vote for you. Their voice will carry great weight." I received neither their vote, nor their voice, nor their weight. And this caused me much pain. I withdrew. Later, Mr. Lannifleur thought it in good taste to take a seat which clearly must have been intended for me, and did not see what bad manners it was to do so. He blithely sat down in my place, and this caused me much pain. Which do you prefer, music or ham? It seems this is a question one should ask oneself when the hors d'oeuvres arrive. In many places, sweet silence has been replaced by bad music. It is thought smart by most people to have a background accompaniment of silly sounds while they drink a beer or try on a pair of trousers, in order to appear to appreciate the sonorous tonalities while actually thinking of nothing at all. But these are occasions with which music has nothing to do. I wish to establish a form of music specifically designed to satisfy utility requirements. Art does not come into these requirements. What is needed is something that creates vibrations and serves no other purpose. Something that fulfills the same role as light, or oxygen, or bathroom tiles, or a chair. Furniture music! Furniture music for soirees, for meetings, for lawyers, for banks. Music for cafes, to be played in a lobby. What is furniture music? A pleasure. Furniture music replaces waltzes, polkas, tangos, gavottes, and medleys from light operas. Make no mistake, it is something quite different. No more fake music, musical furniture. Furniture music completes the decor. Do not enter a house which does not use furniture music. Don't go to bed without playing furniture music, or you will sleep badly. Anyone who hasn't experienced furniture music does not know happiness. Talk, for heaven's sake. Eat, drink, move around. Don't listen. Having written an oratorio, a medieval operetta, a ballet or two, and several shadow plays, I set to work on a lyrical comedy called The Snare of Medusa, a play of pure imagination, with no reality. A joke. The role of Baron Medusa is a sort of portrait, even a portrait of me. A full-length portrait of me. One should never be seen in a cafe. Not that I think going to a cafe is bad in itself. There can be an exchange of ideas in these places which can be most profitable, as long as one is not seen. It was, in fact, at the Chat Noir where I was introduced to Claude Debussy. From the moment I met him, I was drawn to Claude and wanted to be constantly at his side. The esteem was mutual, he dedicated one of his pieces to me with the following words: "To Eric Satie, gentle medieval troubadour who turned up in our century for the joy of his good friend Claude Debussy." He thought so much of my gymnopédie, he even arranged them for full orchestra. The only time he ever so honored a fellow composer. We were always sharing opinions. When I heard Claude's La Mer, full titled From Dawn to Noon on the Sea, I told him he was particularly inspired between 10:30 and 11:15. Once, Claude gently told me he found much of my work lacked structure, lacked form, lacked shape. Not wanting to disappoint, I set out to provide structure, provide form, provide shape. My very next composition was 3 pieces in the shape of a pear. There were 7 of them. I was never sure if Claude was amused by my little jest. Nonetheless, I continued to seek his advice. Mon bon Claude, Monsieur Eric Satie wishes to inform you he is lately working on a delightful opus entitled Sports and Diversions. Monsieur Eric Satie believes this new flight of his fancy is superior to everything else he's written. Perhaps he's wrong, but we mustn't tell him so. He wouldn't believe it. You, who know him well, tell him what you think about it. Surely he will listen to you more attentively than to anyone. So great is his friendship for you. I wish you a good day, mon beau Claude. And please believe in the affective and affectionate affection of your old Eric Satie. I was trying a new path with my latest opus. I was no longer a gymnopédiste. I was now a fantasiste. One person who wasn't pleased with the direction I was heading was good old Claude. We began to go our separate ways. I wasn't angry with him about it. He was a victim of social climbing. He married a very wealthy woman and lived in a splendid mansion surrounded by a magnificent garden. Why wouldn't he allow me a very small place in his shadow? I have no use for the sun. Sport et divertissement. Sports and diversions. This work combines 2 artistic elements: drawings by Charles Martin and music by Eric Satie, of course. The drawing part is made up of strokes, strokes of wit. The musical portion is represented by dots, black blemishes. These 2 parts together form a whole. Approach it with a friendly smile, please. This is a work of fantasy. Don't look for anything else in it. For the shriveled up and the dimwits, I have written a suitably ponderous prelude. This unappetizing chorale, which was written on an empty stomach, is a kind of bitter preamble, an austere and unfrivolous introduction. dedicate this chorale to those who do not like me. I have put into it all I know of boredom. I withdraw. emphases on European music disturbed me, to say the least. France should have French music. Hold the sauerkraut. And let us not forget what we owe to the music hall and to the circus. That is where the newest creations and curiosities of our craft come from. Music hall and circus have the spirit of innovation and inspiration. Inspiration for my ballet parade. The scenario was by Jean Cocteau. The choreography was by Leonid Massin, and it was danced by Diaghilev's Ballet Russe. The scenery and costumes were designed by Picasso. In my orchestra, I included a typewriter, an assortment of milk bottles, a pistol, and a foghorn. Paris had never seen or heard anything like it. A low-down glimpse at the back streets of the fairgrounds. This was a ballet? The reaction was unbelievable. I don't know if I should use the word riot, but let's use it, shall we? There were riots! There was booing, there was hissing, there was jeering. And that was from the critics, who labeled me a farceur and an incompetent dilettante. I dropped a postcard to one of these august gentlemen, which read, "My dear sir, you are not only an asshole, you are an asshole sans musique." He sued me and took the case to trial. In the courtroom, I yelled asshole so many times that I was arrested and thrown in jail for 8 days. Whilst incarcerated, I used my time wisely by preparing for an upcoming lecture. Mesdames, Mademoiselle, Monsieur. In the past, I have given several lectures on subjects including intelligence and musicality among animals. Today, I shall speak about intelligence and musicality among critics. It's much the same theme. Slight modifications, of course. We don't know enough about critics. We don't know what they have done, what they are capable of doing. They are as misunderstood as animals, even though, like animals, they must serve some purpose. There are 3 sorts of critics. Those of importance, those of less importance, and those of no importance at all. The 2 latter kinds don't exist. All critics are important. The critic knows everything, sees everything, hears everything, says everything, touches everything, moves everything, eats everything, confuses everything, and thinks nothing of it. What a man! I've spent a lot of time studying the customs of animals. They don't have critics. The wolf doesn't criticize the sheep. He eats it. Not because he despises the sheep's art, but because he admires its flesh, and even the bones of the woolly beast, which are so good in a stew. I notice that it's getting late. I shall have to end my eulogy at this point. Although I may return to this subject at another time, let me just close by saying this. Let us thank the critics for the sacrifices they make daily for our own good. Let us ask Providence to protect them from illness of all kinds, and to grant them numerous children of all species, that they may continue theirs. These wishes can do them neither good nor ill, but at least it will give them a load to write about. Despite my ever-increasing notoriety, for 27 years I've been ensconced in a remote, rough neighborhood in a sparse apartment where I received no visitors. I had only a broken-down piano and a cot which doubled as my writing desk. In the closet hung my collection of 100 umbrellas and 7 identical velvet suits. Every inch of space was littered with piles of my music, which no one but me had ever heard. Most of my old acquaintances had deserted me, or maybe I had deserted them. But lately, I had been sort of adopted by a small group of avant-garde composers known as Les Six. The Six. I was never quite sure if these young upstarts kept my company as an object of admiration or of ridicule. Eventually, I suffered a serious attack of pleurisy. A late consequence, no doubt, of my scheme to escape the military life by spending that winter night outdoors, naked, so many years ago. Absinthe continued to be a loyal companion. It's odd. In every bar, someone will always buy you a drink. No one ever thinks of offering you a sandwich. Absinthe is killing oneself. Drop by drop. Though it also induces the most remarkable visions. A few nights ago, I dreamed I had 2 willies. Can't imagine how many things you can do with that thing. having come into this world. Not that I hate the world, no. I like the world. I like the social world, and even the twilight world. Myself being a sort of shady whore. But what did I come to do upon this earthly earth? Did I have duties to perform here? Did I come to carry out a mission? Was I sent to enjoy myself? To have a little change of scene? Was I sent to forget the hardships of a world beyond? A world of which I remember nothing? Am I not an intruder here? How can I answer all these questions? Thinking it was the right thing to do, almost as soon as I arrived down here, I started playing snatches of music, which I made up myself. All my troubles have stemmed from this. I have great confidence in the good Lord. When I'm dead, he will do with me whatever he likes. Just give me time to put on my nightshirt, and then I'm yours. Much. Oh my gosh, what a wonderful audience. Thank you for sharing this evening with us here at the Tap. We've been having a little talk back after each show, about 5 or 10 minutes.